Jinsky?
So can he amend the motion closed to bring it back in the closed portion of the agenda?
To
Add to
vary the closed agenda? Yes. Yeah. Councillor Norbury.
So I believe that for procedurally wise, if a person from the winning vote brings that vote back, we can then bring it back and amend the motion. So depending on how the animal control goes and what recommendations are made, a person from that winning side could then bring that back, and amendment could be made after the closed portion of the meeting when we come back from the close. That would be an option.
Okay. Any other varies to the agenda? Approval of the agenda, please. Approval of the amended agenda, please. Councillor Norbury.
For the Monday, May 11th, 2020 special council meeting, agenda be adopted as amended.
Seconder, Councillor Lehman. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Consent agenda, recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
That all items of the Monday, May 11th, 2020 consent agenda be
Seconder, Councillor Kukalka. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Council like to discuss anything in the consent agenda? Councillor Norbury.
I'd like to move 3.3, the Club 55 North 2020 season for discussion.
Seconder, Councillor Kirby. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Norbury.
So I think in the case of Club 55 North and our restaurant operator down there, staff gave us some great options, I think, and realistically we have three choices. We can look at reducing the rent, and then I think what's fair is fair. We need to be looking at our other operations that are similar. We just say goodbye and we move on, or we ask them to stick to the lease agreement. My thought is because COVID-19 sort of sprung on us, that I think everything sort of changed for Club 55 North and operators. I think we should be putting this back out for RFP, in my opinion, in that they and others can sort of give us what they believe that they can achieve in terms of what they can pay, what can be profitable for them. Because I'm also open to potentially offering them their rent reduction. From what I understand, they thought that our deferment last time meant it was a no. But the caveat with that is that it wouldn't be fair to Joe's Pizza Stone. Right? Whatever we decide needs to be applied to them in terms of the rent reductions.
Okay. Any other comments? Councillor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Do you know the start date of when the contract, they're supposed to be vacating the golf course, or are they?
They were supposed to start operating?
Yeah.
I believe it was May 15th. Yes, I can add to this. I completely understand the reasoning for not being able to fulfill the contract. It's definitely unprecedented times. But there is a series of events here. We're under contract. We renewed the contract for this next year. So I don't think changing that contract is very easily done. And to be honest, I'm not really in support of reducing the rent. The golf course is dramatically different this year. The operating of it is going to be dramatically different, and to be honest, I really don't see the need for the clubhouse to be open this year. So that's my take on it. Any other comments? Councillor Howe?
And it's we're both in a tight spot here, the operator and council. We definitely want to see these businesses succeed, and we've talked adamantly in here about helping business in Tumbler Ridge. But at this point, this is us singling out one business to help, and that is concerns me. When we make a broad tax cut, it affects all businesses in Tumbler Ridge. I think that she will receive a slightly less amount of rent because of the taxes in the District of Tumbler Ridge. So that we are essentially helping her out
We have done something for
with everyone else as well.
Yeah.
So it is a tight spot. I don't really see any other option besides going out to RFP or Q. But I would like to know from staff, what type of a timeline would we be looking at if we decided this tonight? And I mean, Club 55 can apply for this as well and come in with a reduced rent, and maybe they get it, and maybe they can go even lower than what they were thinking it could go. But what type of timeline are we looking at? Like, can we put this out for 1 week, or does it have to be 2 weeks, or and kind of get the ball rolling so that maybe, I don't know if June 1st is reasonable to be up by, but and the other point to this is I'm not completely sold that this is not going to be a fantastic year for them down there. There's a lot of reduced recreation activities, but golf is not one of them at this time. You're going to be able to get out and golf. They're going to be able to serve food on the course. They have to be creative how they're going to do it. So I'm not completely sold that this isn't going to be a good thing for them. It's a catch-22. It's a real risk in business, but I would like to know from staff how long we think that would take to get somebody else in, or for them to be able to complete the RFP.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the entire RFP process, but Ms. Torval, do you have an idea on that?
I'm thinking 3 to 4 weeks.
Would be an RFP standard timeline?
We're doing 3 to 4 weeks, and that's stretching it. Like I'd like to say 2 to 3 weeks, but I'm going to be a little bit generous. I can certainly, if this is what council.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Majinski?
Would there be any implications on the current contract and being broken? Or would we have to have leeway on that because it is a signed contract for this year? Would we have to ask staff for a report on something like that?
Ms. Torval? As far as the existing contract goes, what would we have to do to part ways?
You can make a motion to do that, or you can have us bring back a report and go through all the steps. And I believe I sent information today that came from our legal. Yeah, it's pretty much given the circumstances that we're in. You can just make a motion and cancel our contract.
Okay. I definitely understand this is different operating atmosphere completely. I'm just afraid of setting precedent. So if council could keep that in mind, and there is that contractual obligation of 3 months to break the contract. So council needs to think about that aspect of it as well. But in my opinion, I would support not going to an RFP. But if council feels that's the direction we should go, then I'll support that. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you. So personally, I think we should be releasing Club 55 from their contract.
Hang on a second.
Councillor Crystal?
Should that not be done in close if we're talking legal? Like if we're talking about releasing contracts here, we're on a live stream here. And I believe when it becomes, there's some legals and legal stuff that was sent to us. So to me, that should be immediately closed.
Ms.
Would be
Torval?
my guess. Sorry to cut you off, Councilor Norbury, but I think we're treading on that.
Yeah, this is just for discussion. Councillor Norbury?
Should we just leave all discussions then for closed?
Yeah, I think we should, yeah. Okay. Anything else to discuss on consent agenda, council? Councillor Kalka?
Yeah, I just want to bring up your 3.2 for a quick discussion, if I may.
Seconder, Councillor Norbury, or sorry, Councillor Norbury, you want to excuse?
Well, I would like to ask that if we're bringing up 3.2, we should hold any conversation about the library till after, so I can accuse myself. But in a general conversation, I would like to have input. But
Okay,
this library specific, I would like to.
yeah. Yeah, okay. Seconder for discussion, Councillor Majinski. All in favor? Opposed, carried. Councillor Kirkcalka.
Yeah, so first I want to thank that it actually came into the agenda after our last discussion in our meeting. I want to commend the Geopark in regards to the report of today's slide to staff. I think, it gives a detailed information to me, to council, but also the residents of what they're doing, and as well as the Tumbler Ridge Museum Foundation. You know, I think when they fill it out and explain what they're looking at for their staffing side, I think it is significant reports by the two of them. We did receive one, and I'll stay away from that one, but the Youth Service Society, and you know, saying I get where they're coming from, and I'm not sure who filled it out. There's no signature or who it came from, and I'm not sure if Ms. Torval knows who that was addressed from.
Ms. Torval,
This from Mr. Hurst. He submitted it
who is the president of the Youth Services?
on behalf of the Youth Services.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Norbert,
Yeah,
did you have some?
I don't want to just repeat what Councillor Kakalka said, but a lot of what he said hits it on the head. I'm glad that they're looking forward, planning about the future. And I think like this letter is sort of a snapshot of what it was 2 weeks ago, what's happening, what's looking forward. A lot has changed in just the last few days, right? Like now we're looking at potential reopening. What is that actually going to look like? Now, if we're looking at a staggered and a tiered reopening plan, I think it is safe to assume like costs for these organizations to operate may change from what they gave us, you know, so we need to be cognizant that in the coming future of COVID-19, how are we going to maintain how many people are in these organizations, how, you know, what the service delivery is going to be looking like. I mean, if we look at the schools, they're talking about having some kids in the classroom, but they're also going to be offering the digital classes as well. So essentially, you know, it might not be a doubling of efforts that they're going to be putting on, but there's going to be a lot more work than you expect. It's not just going to be, okay, well, it's cut and dry. So it is, you know, it's something to be cognizant of moving forward. It's all this is going to change soon too.
Absolutely. Councillor Howe,
You'll have to leave there, Chris. I want to discuss something here.
discussion about the library. Okay,
Are we all finished? Everything else?
yep. Good. Councillor Howe.
Yeah, so the motion was very specific of what we were asking for from the non-for-profits. And it was, we were looking for a letter from the boards, not from their staff. There is a concern when the staff writes the letter to tell you what the board should think. That's the wrong way for a board and a staff to react. The library letter in particular is not dated. We do not know who it's from. And for coming from a library, to me, it looks very unprofessional. I'm also concerned with what they say that they can come up with savings. $3,000. Less than 1% of their budget while they've been closed for 2 months, they can save less than 1% on their budget. That concerns me. I think that's an issue, and I would love to have the conversation with the board and say, how can we do better than that? Because I know they've let people go. We've heard them come in and say that they've let people go. I do not understand. I understand they said they didn't think they could get as much fundraising this year, but the best they can come up with is $3,000. To me, that's not good enough. I'm sorry, but it's going to be very difficult for me to support a few of these groups to the capacity that we're supporting them in our next budget for next year. Also, I'm concerned slightly with the museum as well, but the library is definitely a spot of concern for me, and I just think it needs to be raised that this isn't good enough. Coming from the library, it should be dated. There should be a name on it. Should be a more professional format than what it is. The library helps people build resumes and cover letters and this type of stuff. So if this is coming from the board, okay, I guess there could be some discrepancies there that they don't really know how to write a letter, a professional letter that we're looking for. But I think it needed to be stated, and myself, I'm not happy with it, and I was expecting a lot more savings from the library this year.
Okay. Any other comments? Councillor Majinski.
Yeah, and in regards to the boards writing the letter, even the geoparks, that wasn't from the board either. That was from their employees. So, and you know, there could be a lot more savings probably in regards to the library it's hard to know for sure until the end of the year, is my assumption on that, but I'm not gonna speak on behalf of the library on that, but I'm sure there will potentially are gonna be a lot more, savings there. It's just hard to know right now. And yeah, they could have put a number there, but then they're gonna be held to it as well, right? So I think there would be a little bit of leeway there. And
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think the end of the year is gonna, it could go either way, and it's very uncertain what that atmosphere could look like. So, asking for this information, I appreciate all the information we've received. It definitely possibly identified some areas of concern, but I do appreciate the information. Councilor Majinski.
yeah, and I think this is a good snapshot to look at in one fiscal year's time from now, and then you'll really know, engage where we're at and see what the actual impact was in the
Yeah.
full year, because then they can reference it to the previous year.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to get a lot of relevant information from the task force surveys as well too, as far as impacts to the community. Yeah, any other comments in regards to 3.2? Yeah, and to your comment about the motion being to the boards, absolutely, the invitation and motion was to the boards. We got what we got, honestly, so. Councillor Howe.
And great point, but these are the groups that we give hundreds of thousands of dollars to. They should do a little bit better job when we're asking for, hey, we're under the gun here too, we're looking for savings, what can you do for us? Can you come up with any savings? And to me, it's particular in the library, I think they come up with a number to say, well, you know, we don't want to lose any of our budget, so let's not tell them that we can't save any money. And to me, that's what it feels like. There's absolutely no way that the library can be shut down for 2 months at a time, lay off employees, reduce their hours, and not come up with savings in a community center that's also shut down. And, you know, there's no way. And to me, we need to call a spade a spade. We are in here to watch the tax dollars of the people of Tumbler Ridge. And to me, this is not good enough for a non-for-profit group. We give out a pile of money. We used to give out $200,000 to the museum. We give out over $400,000 now. We take it all on our backs. And to me, this stuff's going to have to get dialed in, especially we're going to looking at our financial plan coming forward, $7 million spend in 4 years, and we're giving out this types of money. We got to start tightening our belts on this type of stuff. So that's what I say.
Thank you. Okay, nothing else? Yes, please. Thank you, Chief. Okay, moving on to bylaws, 4.1. Financial Plan Bylaw 686, 2020 to 2024 Financial Plan. A report from the Director of Finance dated May 11, 2020, seeking adoption of the Financial Plan Bylaw. Recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
The council adopts the District of Tumbler Ridge 2020 to 2024 Financial Plan Bylaw number 686, 2012.
Seconder, Councillor Kirby. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 4.2 Tax Rate Bylaw 687, 2020. Report from the Director of Finance dated May 11, 2020, seeking adoption of the Tax Rate Bylaw. Recommendation, please. Councillor Majinski.
Council adopts the District of Tumbler Ridge 2020 Tax Rates Bylaw number 687, 2020.
Seconder, Councillor Kirby. Discussion? All in favor? Sorry, Councillor Majinski.
No, my only concern was, I know that Councillor Howe had some concerns and was wanting to make sure that they were addressed, because that was definitely on my mind even when I
Yes,
read the readings previous on the third.
certainly.
So,
Councillor Howe, did you get your questions answered there? I read that response from.
Yeah, and you know what? It looked really good, and thanks to Ms. Shriver for putting that together for
Yes.
me in a short amount of time. I know it's a little bit of a communication gap with the COVID thing, trying to go through an interim CAO through our CFO to try to get that information. I do have concerns. I am concerned that we are taking a pile of money out of our savings, which in the 5 years that I've been in council, we've never done that. We've always kind of spent within our means, and I have concerns that 3 years down the road, we're looking at a massive spend on our airport. 3 years down the road, I think it is, 3 years down the road?
3, yeah.
Whatever it is, $7 million. That's coming out of reserves, because we are not putting enough money away for the airport. Well, we didn't in the past. There's no way we can catch up where we are. So that conversation, although it's not written in stone that we're doing this, is going to have to be one of the foremost things for this council to decide what we're going to do with that airport. To me, $7 million is atrocious. I can't see us going down that road. I think we need to try to recoup some costs in that, and I'm willing to vote in favor of this at this point, but I take a hard stand that I will not be voting in favor of approving an airport for $7 million.
Yeah, so your biggest concern prior to this was seeing the forecasted spends in the next 5 years and making sure that our reserves were able to.
And they're
Go ahead.
pulled from the savings.
Or, I mean, we don't have to. We can take a loan
Yeah.
and pay interest on it.
Your concern was getting a better understanding of the
That's correct.
savings and the reserves.
That's correct.
To ensure.
Every year up until this year, we've been putting money away. We've been building that savings, and it keeps continue to grow. Slightly some years, larger other years. That year it drops off. That is, I assumed that's what was happening, but I wanted to get that information from Ms. Schreiber to be, before I shared that with council, that's what I thought I read in the statements. I wanted to be sure of it before I brought it up. That is a concern, major concern.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments, discussion? Okay, call the question on 4.2. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, new business. 5.1. Councillor Kakauka.
Like to move for discussion.
Okay, so 5.1, animal control considerations for council, report from the Director of Protective Services dated May 11th, 2020, providing council with animal control considerations and options. Move for discussion, seconder, Councillor Kirby, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Councillor Kakauka.
Again, I'm gonna reach out to Mr. Orville. I have a motion to read, and I believe it cannot be done in open. So I'd like to know how I handle this motion in open. Before we get into a debate in regards to animal control and some of the alternative or other recommendations by staff, was it didn't work with Mr. Orville on another motion to put forward, but it has to be done in closed due to the employee relations concern.
Ms.
So-
Torval. Ms. Torval.
It should be enclosed.
Okay,
So like, that's what I mean, that's why I asked her to get in there and apologize, but I mean, that's the thing is when I came in and dealt with this, tried to ask Mr. Orville how I'd do it, and that's why I reached out to you earlier, and I know I tried to bring it up again, cause I was just gonna try to add it if close was moved up due to, the gentleman wanted to call in earlier, his time schedule. But there is a motion I wanna read, but I'm unable to read it.
Councillor Howe.
I mean, I see no problem with us going into closed right now. We have no idea as we get into discussions and certain things that some councillor may bring something up that they are concerned should be discussed in closed. And as a council, we should honor that option to hear that councillor out. If what they say does not need to be in closed, then we immediately take it out. But we should at least hear it first to give them the benefit of the doubt. That they don't want to get us as a council in hot water by discussing something in open that should be in closed.
Especially,
in the shop.
especially labor relations, yeah. Councillor Norbury?
Well, but in the case of, if we take a step back and we sort of look at amendments to the agendas, you know, if there's something important, then they should be brought up in due time, right? Like, I understand that we may want to make changes to the agenda, but also, we've been talking about animal control for a while, right? I understand where Councilor Majewski is concerns about amending the agenda, so we have the close now. But ultimately, we already made that vote on changing the agenda as it is. I don't think we should be going back and rehashing that vote because it's already been decided. So,
Okay, Councillor Howe.
It's been decided to put it formally at the beginning of the agenda, but we have reached a point now where it needs to be it needs to be discussed, and it's not formally on the agenda. You can move anything into closed if it warrants it at any point during a meeting. It's for the benefit of this council that this is put into closed.
Correct.
If what he says is not required to be enclosed, you come out and you release it right away.
Correct. So I'll make a motion to move into closed under section 91C, labor relations. Seconder,
Yep.
Councillor Howe. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Great, thank you. Need 5 minutes to go ahead and close, please.